welcome everyone who's joining. Yeah, just going to wait a couple of minutes to give everyone a chance to get into the webinar, and then we'll get underway. So yeah. Just give it another minute, and then I'll kick us off. Obviously conscious of time, so
sounds good.
Brilliant. Right, so conscious about time, so I'll get underway. Hopefully, everyone's had a chance to join. So, yeah, welcome everyone to the third episode of Rut Live. My name's Jack, and yeah, like I said, welcome to the episode today with Allan, who is a tech lead over at Hallink. Basically, bit about myself, I specialise in recruiting purely for Rust engineering professionals for companies across the US. And as an agency, we recruit for Rust engineers within Europe, within the US, and that is one of the specialisms here at Amicus. And like I said, I'm delighted to be joined by Allan. Allan will be leading the presentation today. This Rust Live webinar will be titled Going Mobile with Flutter and Rust. The talk should last around about 45 minutes or so. If anyone has any questions for Allan regarding the talk, please save these questions for the end of the presentation in the Q&A comment section, and I'll ask Allan them questions at the end for him to answer. Finally, as well, if anyone was wondering, the episode will be recorded. And a link for everyone who has attended, you'll receive that, and it will also be available on YouTube for you to watch again, and for other people to watch in the future. So yeah, Allan, if you'd like to get underway.
Sure. Let's get the nice little screen shared. Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Allan Davis. I am the lead engineer for Hallink, which is a mobile trucking scheduling service. So I've been a developer for 20 years. You can't believe that it's been that long. I actually have migrated my game studio to be completely Rust using Bevy for some of our work, as well as for Hallink, we are actually turning around and rewriting all our backend to be Rust microservices. So there's my different repos. I'll actually have the code from this presentation and this demo up on the GitHub link as well. I actually have that at the end. So, what are we actually doing here? We're going to be talking about using Rust as a system language for doing cross-platform development. So that leads us to, what is Flutter? Flutter is a framework for user interfaces that compiles to almost any platform, including web, desktop, Mac, Linux, Windows. It actually also does iOS and Android really well. It actually builds the system or compiles down to C and draws completely everything. So you still continue to get a fast native UI feel in a cross-platform environment, which is very advantageous to users because but it just, some of it won't feel native unless you get the theming for it. But that's, so with that, that's basically what Flutter is. And there's a couple links to actually download Flutter if you want, as well as the pub.dev, which is the libraries for Flutter. Now, everything in Flutter is written in Dart, but you lack several nice features about recursion. It is still it may be ultimately compiled down, but Dart was really designed as a JavaScript replacement. So it's better JavaScript, but it's still JavaScript, or feels like a C derivative in much of when you're using. So that brings us to why we're doing this. So each platform we work on, whether it be Windows, Linux, all has a native language to it. Windows is C, C++, C#. Android is Kotlin. iOS is Swift or Objective-C. I mean, everything has a platform, and you have to, when you're dealing with cross-platform projects, you end up having to write multiple native pieces when you have to go down to lower level functionality. And what the Flutter Rust bridge, it allows us to use Rust to cover pretty much all the build tools and build processes, and to completely build a application. So I can use the exact same code base with minor changes for a Mac application as well as a Windows one. So that's the long and the short of it. So let's get into why we're here and actually do something. I know this is probably going to be simple. It's a hello world, but it's going to be, from my experience, the first project is always the hardest, at least for this one. So So we're just going to start by creating a basic Flutter project. So just like you would normally, or you do cargo, you have Flutter has very similar. You create, just so I get my name correctly for the bundle ID. I'll just call it demo. All right. So there, we actually have a and here we have a base Flutter project. Nothing really exciting yet, but from here, let's actually create our cargo project. Okay, so cargo new native lib. So we're just creating a library file that we're going to use for binding to the applications. Now we actually have a native cargo project, just like we normally see. We need to do one thing here. Create type. Bad habit. Oh, double check. Let's see that. What you're telling it, you're telling it what libraries you want to create in the native. And you also, if you're doing iOS, you need a static library. So that's about the only change. Now let's add our cargo dependencies. Might help if I go into the project. I've added. I bit myself. Okay. We need to, now that we got the dependencies in the Rust application, we can actually, and we have it set up for library, we can actually come in and add the stuff we need to the Flutter application. So that will add. So that adds so just like cargo add modifies the cargo.yaml, the pub add modifies the pub spec, which, let's see, will actually contain your development dependencies as well as your dependencies for the Flutter application you're building. So now we've added the FFI generator. Just add the FFI. Now I'm going to add the pub part of the package that does the linking of the two libraries. So we're going to add the Flutter Rust bridge here. I might help for include. Pay attention enough to the command. There's about 3 more dependencies I need to add. Okay. Now that we've got all that kind of cruff in place, as we can actually start to, well, a couple more things. one more thing we got to do. Let's, now this is really for a Windows file. Because the Windows build, so it can link into, will run off CMake for Flutter. Now, I'm not running on a Windows box, so I'm not going to completely hook it in, but that is a step you need to do to get the, and then once you have that file, come over to the Windows, you see the CMake list here, create an include statement into that for that file, in that file. That's all you really need to do to fix Windows support. Mac was actually easier and harder at the same time. They actually did something to fix it, so you can do this. Actually, there is a plugin for Cargo called so you can actually use Cargo Xcode, which will actually generate an Xcode project to compile your the Rust library into the Flutter. So let's actually do that. Right? But Cargo Xcode, it just generates the Xcode project, and then we will open the workspace project. This should give me Xcode. Size to show up. Or it opens on the wrong screen. So this is the Mac project that will actually build the Mac application. And so there's 2 steps you need to do to it. Let's go back. So with the folder open, it's easy to can actually drag to link the dependencies, add dependency, take the C library. Put dynamic library there. So that gets everything connected. Now we can actually work on some code. All right. Now, let's go into actually. So this is the default. I'm actually just leaving it in here, but let's create a mod API. Which will create a API.rs. Then for this, let's do notice I'm doing a very, very basic string, completely standard Rust function. So copy and pasting easier. Never remember what the Unicode character is for the crab. But so we have our basic string, our basic function. Now, here comes the fun part, or not so much, depending on your point of view. So, all right, so come back into the terminal. We're going to have it generate the code to actually the Flutter bindings, basically. So you need to tell it what Rust file it's going to be building from. And I've done experiments with this. Do not use a directory-based API file. So in other words, the mod.rs, it doesn't quite reach through it the way I'd expect it to. And that may be a bug in it. I haven't flushed that out. So basically, I'm telling it to where to generate the header file for it, where to generate the definitions, and where to generate the whole base file. And this will run, and actually you'll start generating. So what that generated was this piece of code here, or it generated this binding for us that actually ties to the API. And it also created the generated file here, which actually links to the function that we've defined and does the native linking. Native.dart. And so basically what we're doing here is just telling it to which library to load in the application to link the, and then create the native implementation object and tie it to the API variable. This is all this is doing. Main.dart. Do. Please. Let's replace the column. One thing I don't like my screen this large sometimes. But yeah, I'm just replacing the column with a call to the API. So that's all we need to do. So with that being done, all the linking done, now we can come out back to terminal. Tell Flutter to run. Now it starts actually doing all the compilation. Uh-oh. Oh, what I don't. There's the wrong. Oh, it's always funny. Bit by demons. Let's try. Okay. Get past the little glitch. That's pretty much. Work freaking 10 minutes ago. Just because the camera's on, that always freaking happens. Okay. Let's go. And Flutter Runner, just hitting the play button here works the same. It's just going to compile everything. And there, actually. Okay. You can see how fragile some of this, when you start dealing with libraries and stuff, can tend to be. But that is a very simple. Well, any questions?
Let me have a look in the Q&A and comment section, and I'll see if there's any questions for you, Alan. If anyone's got any questions for Alan about, obviously, the presentation, what he's just been through there, yeah, any questions at all, feel free to get them in. I'll give it 2 or 3 minutes, see if any questions come through. But yeah, obviously, thanks for the presentation there, Alan. Hopefully, some questions come through soon. Nothing through at the moment. So if anyone's got any questions as well, by the way, there's a little Q&A section at the bottom where you can write the questions into. And then obviously I'll ask Alan the question, he'll be able to give you the answer. So Davis Stanger asks, have you used this Flutter Rust bridge in production?
We actually have plans to use it in production. Not currently, but some of our future. As I said, we're in the middle of migrating some stuff. So yes, we do have plans to use it, but we haven't deployed it yet.
Brilliant. And then another question's come through an anonymous attendee who said, yeah, they got in late, but why did you go with Flutter over Qt?
To me, I actually find Flutter a little easier, especially when it comes to dealing with mobile devices than dealing with some of the linking issues with Qt. But
okay, brilliant. And then finally, we've got a question from Zahandre, who says, is there a link to the GitHub of this code?
yes, actually, that was actually the next slide.
So yeah, if anyone wants to obviously access the code or yeah, it's there via the link. I can obviously get these details off Allan as well, and send it up in a follow-up email for people to check out, for people who attended the webinar, and share the link to Allan's GitHub there for you to check out. So let me just see if any more questions come through. Yeah, I've got another question here. So anonymous attendee once again says Flutter's really beautiful, but are you concerned about the industry support versus Google canceling it?
No, it's been Google only tends to cancel things that are not, at least some things that are popular but not heavily used. And right now we've seen Flutter received stellar adoption. It's much more so than a lot of the cross-platform frameworks that I've seen. So I don't think Flutter is going anywhere for a while. It's a major investment for Google, and a lot of their apps have actually moved to it. So they're eating their own dog food. Like an example would be the wallet app, the Google Pay app for Android. It's actually written in Flutter.
Brilliant. No worries at all. Yeah, I think that's it for the Q&A session. I've not seen any more questions come through unless anyone's got any last second questions. So by the looks of it, nothing else is coming through. So I'll leave it there, Allan. But obviously, if anyone wants to get in contact with myself or Allan, I'll put all the information in the follow-up email. I will put a link to Allan's GitHub in the follow-up email as well. And yeah, obviously, thanks to everyone who attended the webinar and tuned in. Obviously, thanks to Allan for taking time out of his afternoon to jump on here and give a live coding demonstration and a presentation for you guys. Appreciate you coming on. Yeah, I'm sure if any of you want to connect with Allan, I'll send over his LinkedIn page as well. And like I said, all the links to his GitHub. But yeah, other than that, thanks for everyone for tuning in. And yeah, thank you.